Tiempo. You ready? Simplify. All right, it is 5 o'clock on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Happy Flag Day, everyone. And it is our Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District regular meeting of the governing board. With that said, we will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Dr. Lunderville, would you lead us, please?
You pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, Mr. Brad Beach, Ms. Susan Fobian, Mr. John Hay.
Here.
Mr. John Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Rene Ramirez. Here. Myself, Joel Kramer. We have all 5 members present. With that said, we move to subject B, adoption of the agenda. Mr. Verdugo.
No recommended changes. Thank you.
Based on Mr. Verdugo's recommendation, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved. Second.
For discussion, hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 All right, we all move on to subject C, which is call to the public. And we have no calls to the public. So we move on to presentations. And under presentations, it's A is proposed budget, which would be Mr. Verdugo and Ms. Brown.
Thank you. The board may or may not know that we still do not have a budget from the state approved, but statutorily we have to follow a process, including having a proposed budget by a certain date as well as an adopted budget by a certain date. And so this is our requirement to meet the statutory requirement. So I'm going to invite Ms. Brown up and she can explain the proposed budget. And also I know that Mr. Kramer had some additional things that he would like to mention during this time as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn over to Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. As Mr. Verdugo mentioned, I stand in front of you tonight without an approved budget for next year by the legislature. This is becoming more and more common. The same thing happened last year. And so the forms that I presented to you tonight show the same values that we had in place for fiscal year 21-22. So the state of Arizona and collaboration with the Office of the Auditor General generated new forms just by changing the dates to the forms, the fiscal year to the forms. They do not have the authority to modify any of the values, given that they're waiting for a new budget to be approved by the legislature. With that said, we know that there is an unprecedented surplus of funding, and which is a rare opportunity in our state. We are really hoping that the legislature provides a good budget for us in the coming weeks. There is a statute, ARS 15-905Q, which will allow us to revise the budget by September 15th using the new forms when they become available. With that said, like I mentioned, the base support level remains the same as you have it in the forms that you received at $4,445.53. I did went ahead and updated our student counts. We are funded on same year funding. So the numbers that I use, they're all projections for next year. Our overall enrollment, my projection is at a total of 3,378, representing an increase of 30 students. Then we have certain subcategories within our general enrollment that also generates additional funding. And those are in the area of K-3. So students between the grade levels of kinder through third generate additional funding. And I am projecting a student population of 835 for those grade levels. ELL students, 550, gifted students, 150, and special ed population of 340. Another factor that comes into play when developing a new budget is the teacher experience index, which is the average number of years of experience for certified teachers for our district. If that experience index exceeds 1 2.0, then it generates additional funding for us. That has been the case in our district for the past couple of years. For next year, though, it dropped. Not a significant reduction, but a tiny reduction of 0.0012 from the previous year. And that's a solid number. So that's the number that we will be using for next year. The other thing that is solid in tonight's budget is a 9% M&O override. The reason why we're able to calculate our 9% override is because the override is based on using prior year's enrollment. So I went ahead and did that. In that form, we are also able to adjust the amount that we get per student. So I went ahead and increased that by the 2% that we know they are going to give us. And that generated an override of $2,077,100, which represents an increase of $144,438 from prior year's override. On the other hand, the district additional assistance, again, no changes there. The amount per student remained the same. Under the major fund expenditure assumptions, I want to just briefly go over them because they are embedded in tonight's budget, and those are not, I'm not expecting to perform any changes since the board already took action on contracts and salary increases and all of those. I just want to confirm to the board and the public that the compensation plan that has been previously discussed and approved by the board is part of tonight's budget. So as part of the compensation plan for next year, we have calculated a 3% increase to all eligible employees that are not part of the adjustment to the hourly placement guide. The adjustment to the hourly placement guide is also calculated, and the increases range from 3% to 24%. We also went ahead and did a 1.5% adjustment to the certified placement guide. This measure will only impact new hires. There is the reclassification of your business manager to CFO. Then we have, we're funding the longevity pay program, which will benefit 61 employees next year. And then we're also have set aside funding to absorb the 4% increase in our medical insurance premiums. So that's all on the compensation plan. When it comes to staffing, we met with each principal and discussed with them their staffing models. As a result of those conversations, we are doing the following changes. Rio Rico High School is receiving 5 extra sections. Calabasas is getting 2 additional teachers. We are increasing the number of contract days for elementary PE paraprofessionals by 2. And we are increasing the number of contract days for elementary PE teacher by 6. We are also starting to phase in some of the positions that are currently, we're still in fiscal 22, funded with ESSER dollars. So as part of that phase out plan, we are starting to bring some of those positions back into M&O where they were originally funded. And that is the case of our kinder teachers. Kinder teachers were, instead of being half override, half regular M&O, we did half override, half ESSER, and we took advantage of the ESSER dollars. It's time to bring them back to the M&O fund. Some of our counselors were also in ESSER. We're bringing them, some of them back into our M&O fund. Moving away from our operating fund, M&O, and transitioning into our capital fund, also known as District Additional Assistance Fund, we're allocating over $700,000 for facilities. Over $500,000 for transportation, which will secure 2 special needs buses and 2 84 passenger buses. We have over $400,000 for technology rotations and a set aside that we are putting in place to be able to take care of all the new technology that we introduced with the ESSER. We are making sure that we are financially equipped to be able to keep up with our rotations when the federal funds go away. Then we have over $380,000 for curriculum material and a set aside to address distance learning software when we don't have the federal funds. We have a one-time investment in athletics of $289,100. $60,000 to address furniture rotation and set aside for field house furniture and equipment. Every year we set aside a fixed amount. This year we increased the amount to $60,000 to address capital requests. Those are capital needs or items that come up during the course of the school year that we can't foresee when we're putting together our budget. We also have $26,000 set aside for the area of fine arts, and we have $1 million in contingency in our capital fund. For the area of our classroom site fund, the amount that we received for next year per student at $708. In the area of special projects and other funds, those have remained the same as of today. We usually amend those later in the year as we start to get the new applications. So for now, as I say, fiscal 23 major funds and M&O, we're looking at $31.2 million. Inclusive of that is $2 million over 9% override program. And then in our capital fund, we have $3.5 million. So, are there any questions?
Mr. Hayes.
Just one that I can think of. I saw a report recently that said that the state of Arizona had lost over $4 billion to fraud through the Arizona Department of Economic Services. Do we know if there's any requirement that could require the state to have to refund those dollars since it was unemployment and jeopardize what could be done with the surplus that the state has?
I am not aware, Mr. Hayes, of what the consequences will be of that funding at this time.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Hayes, can I ask, where did you see that report?
It actually came out. It was something I saw. Oh geez, it was one of the newspapers in the Phoenix area. It actually was dated back in September or August of last year.
I'm just wondering if you've come across it again, if you could just send it to
I sure will.
If you get it to us, I'd be interested to see that.
Sure will.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Fobian.
You know, my only question or concern, again, it's a temporary, we really don't know what this is going to be, but things like, you know, gasoline going up so much, I don't know how I trust in your ability, but the state's going to have to do something because, I mean, diesel, which has less processing to it, is the one that's going up the most, and that's how our buses are run. So it's just a concern. I have no idea how you'll deal with it, but things like that. And the food service, I mean, their costs are going to go up.
Absolutely. So to alleviate the immediate concern with the cost of fuel, we went ahead and through our allocation discussions to departments, we went ahead and increased the allocation to the transportation department so that they could have additional funds to pay for and address the increase in fuel that they're experiencing. I am expecting the state to provide us with more funding next year. I don't see how they could get away with not providing more funding to education this coming year. I don't what that's going to look like. Right, there's all kinds of proposals going on. But for now, Ms. Fobian, to address the immediate concern, because our buses need to run starting July 1 here pretty soon, we went ahead and increased the allocation to our transportation department.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
Well, first of all, thank you for your presentation. Excel, you always do such a good job. Oh, really good. But, I have a question too with regard to transportation. I was kind of thinking along the lines too about the gasoline, but you answered that. But I wondered when we talked about ordering these new buses, we got a few new buses, which I'm very happy about because I'm sure they're much more economical than what we had before. But it made me pause for a second and I started to think about those buses that we talked about that had like 500,000 miles and whatever happened to those? Did Are those the ones that are replaced, or do those still keep running?
As of today, they're still in our inventory. But the 4 that we're adding will be replacing some of those buses. So Mr. Jimenez, your transportation director, will identify which buses he wants to retire from the inventory, and then we'll go through that process at that time.
Maybe we can find some hybrid buses too. With some
We're
power.
exploring the opportunity to apply to that new grant that is out there. So we're exploring that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. B.
Pretty much, I was gonna ask the same thing Susan asked, but do we have the opportunity to buy gas at a set price for, say, a period of 5 years?
Not a period of 5 years.
Okay.
Not even under a more normal environment in the market. Anyone would compromise the cost of a commodity such as fuel for 5 years. We buy out of co-ops, purchasing co-ops, prices that are negotiated by the state, and they're only available for government entities. So we take advantage of those contracts as much as we can, Mr. Beach. So, but 5 years, the most that we can secure at a time is 1 year.
Okay. And right now, as far as collectively as a whole, does that lower the diesel costs and stuff like that for our school district?
It's better than what you market.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all.
That's all you got. All right. Yes, thank you, Ms. Brown and Mr. Verdugo. It certainly behooves us that we got our salaries in line, and this is something that, again, I'm going to say that it's good that we've got that set in place, and everybody's we've taken care of certain groups, and all groups that should be hopefully a few more that we need to look at for next year. I know that we were in the discussion of that a little bit, but hopefully we can move into that for next year. Certainly the transportation food services, that all of us are concerned. You know, we're going to find more once our people up north in the breadbasket of this country start realizing just how many crops are they going to be putting in, what's that going to do to our food shortage coming fall. I mean, I know there's surpluses in grains and everything, but certainly is going to impact us. I mean, it's the same thing that we all were talking about. So that certainly we'll keep, and I know you'll keep posted on that. And certainly I written it down Monday morning. I was looking at not only electrical buses, but the direction that Tesla is moving in is to hydrogen and getting rid of their batteries and moving to hydrogen based, which is 790 pounds or 750 opposed to 1,280 pounds hydrogen lighter. So that obviously is going to, granted right now they're charging $16 a gallon, but there are ways to produce your own through solar panels and tanks and everything, pulling it out of the air where it becomes close to $3 a gallon. So just something, I'm just bringing that up because it's certainly that's in the near future, and that's hopefully we can stay, especially with some of our vacant land over there. Who knows, maybe we can be producing our own hydrogen for our vehicles. But the other one, let's see, I was salaries. Okay, the other, yes, thank you for building that insurance in. That's good too, because who knows on that. Hopefully it stays that locked in. We had talked about this before, and I know that you had said that we are meeting with our contractors. I know as a board, we talked about this, about ensuring that they spend money, that we hold them accountable when they sign contracts. We did the first time around when we met with Midstate, now the new company of Virgie. But I think we got them to 17%, if it was correct, Ms. Fovian, when we met and back and forth. Hopefully we can continue doing that from this point forward with those companies doing business with Santa Cruz Valley. I mean, they think that because north is, well, yeah, it's in southern Arizona. Well, no, it stops at Amato, and there's not really any business unless they're going to the feed store. But granted, I know Nogales hosts a lot, but certainly we give that opportunity. And not only just with those companies that are doing business and how they give back to, hopefully they're giving back. I know Mr. Verdugo worked on some of the companies as well. to get some contributions. I think one of them actually bought breakfast burritos, correct? On something, they're donated, which is good. I mean, it's a start. That's what they should be doing. And that's what we should be doing. And I was looking at the last of our vouchers. And again, I'm going to bring this up is hopefully that from this point forward that I'm going to ask of this on the vouchers on a lot of these companies, and I know it's going to be a little extra work, but the companies where they're like BSN Sports, Buddies All-Stars, I know those guys, I know where they're from, but I know they're not Santa Cruz County. And so my question, or what I'm asking, request is that we start kind of earmarking, where are these companies located? And are they in Santa Cruz County? Are we giving business to our sporting goods store that I brought this up 6 months ago, so it's not something new. But we started looking at spending money, requiring our people to do a little more. And I know that they need to get 3 quotes and all that good stuff, follow the protocol of the procurement policy, but still, we should be giving them opportunities. And if at least spending, what's the threshold now? Is it 97, 9,800?
100,000.
For each company?
Before bid?
Before bid? Really? Oh, so that's changed since I've last been in this world of it. Wow, that's
10,000 for 3 quotes. Is that?
Quotes, but he's asking bid.
well, yeah, okay, but the quotes, okay, yes. Going back to the small business, 10,000. Okay, so yes, thank you, Steve. Certainly, we can give business to that. That's why I'm bringing up if we can look at pushing for this next school year, people spending money locally. Right, and I know Buddies, and again, I'm not throwing rocks at those guys because I know they do the good job and they provide it, but certainly we start looking at our local guys and folks and businesses in our communities, certainly with that. And the last thing is, and this is something that we as a board have taken upon ourselves. Years ago, we did this, but now with Mr. Verdugo and Mr. Shadler's, Dr. Lunderville's, the principals, your directions, especially at the high school, is we've been building up on our athletic programs. We're building the fields. We're bringing in new coaches. We're spending a lot of money doing this. Well, now in this economy and the way it's going before the economy, well, now in this economy, I'm thinking that, and it's not on their way. I know we're going to bring it back to board on it, but certainly I would like to at least discuss it and probably eliminate it because it's about 36,000, is get rid of that participation fee at the high school level. I said, and this, where if we're going to go all out with our athletics, well, then we should give a little break to the last break to our parents as well. I know we're feeding them, but certainly that is certainly a, I don't know, Mr. Beach, wouldn't you say that's kind of an incentive? Some parents as a coach too, as a coaches, that I think we should be looking at that because we're spending millions of dollars on our athletic programs. Just this little bit to help our parents that have our kids, not only just athletics, but band, clubs, everything to that effect. I think we should revisit that because again, that's one of the 3 votes I said in my tenure as a board member for 12, 14 years is one that I highly regret voting to support. And I know it was the 2008 and the crunch time and stuff, but still, we're going to spend this much money. I think we need to give our parents a little leeway. That's something that I was going to request on those 2. That and like I said, spending in Santa Cruz County. As Mr. Verdugo alluded, and he and I chatted about this in our meeting. Thank you.
But just a couple of comments. First, it was going to be part of my superintendent's report, but I attended the government relations meeting for Santa Cruz County in which I announced to them, and I know that they are going to follow up with local businesses to make sure that they understand how to procure with us, because it's not that we do not want to keep money in Santa Cruz County. We want to employ as well as spend all of our dollars as much as we possibly can in Santa Cruz County, but sometimes they don't know how to do business with the district because there are specific procurement requirements. And so Ms. Brown is going to be meeting with their committee from the chamber, Santa Cruz County Chamber, so that they understand and any businesses will understand how to process and do the procurement with our district. Because again, we would definitely like to keep as many dollars in Santa Cruz County as we possibly can. The other thing, the discussion on salaries, I think we've done a very good job, and commend IBB team as well as Ms. Brown and her team and Ms. Quiroz as they reviewed that process for salaries, where we've now met what I would say the need in our not only teaching staff, but as well as our classified staff. And Mr. Kramer mentioned that we do have some other groups, and I think that that is going to be part of the IBB process as well, so that we do it correctly. I think we could give some raises at this point, but it would be something that we would do without the process that we normally do. And so I commend Mr. Kramer and the board for allowing us to go through that process to make sure that we do it right and come back with the administrator salaries and other members of the team that will be looked at this year. Because I think, like I said, we've done a majority of our staff, and now I think we have one group left. And as leaders, I think they will welcome that opportunity to look and see what those salaries would look like. And then, as Mr. Kramer alluded to with the athletic fees, Angie, I think, has a copy of the last few years that Ms. Brown has provided for the board, so they can see what that would look like. And we will go ahead and make that adjustment in the budget to move forward. And then the board will also obviously vote on that in the future, because that is, we have to approve our annual fees in July. And so that will be, is normally when we do that. And so we will bring that back, but just so that the board is aware, you can see exactly how much, how many dollars are spent. And we will just budget that for paying, or what those fees normally pay for, which is referees, additional travel and things like that, that we pay for. So we will just budget that and make sure that the high school, and we already do not charge any fees for the middle school as well. So that is something that was already in place. But that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Any further comments on this budget, the proposed budget kind of study session formally, sort of? Thank you, Ms. Brown. Certainly, I mean, it's always good to have discussion. Giving all the board members input, it certainly helps. All right, with that said, thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Verdugo, on that. All right, we move on to subject B, teacher recruitment and retention. Oh,
We need
It's
a
an action item.
oh, there's an action too. I'm sorry, I thought it was, geez. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the FY 2022-2023 proposed budget as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right. Thank you for correcting me, Steve. All right, now we move on to teacher recruitment and retention. And that would be Mr. Verdugo and Mr. Sadler.
Thank you. One of the things that was requested by Mr. Ramirez was the turnover rate. And so part of my annual goals, which would be at our next meeting, would be discussing recruitment and retention. But
Verdugo? We can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, yeah.
Okay. So again, usually this is part of my goal presentation on the last meeting of June. But since it was requested as an individual item, I went ahead and put it on the agenda with Mr. Kramer for this meeting, so that we can not only discuss the high school, but just recruitment and retention in general, because I think it's something that's important for our district that we continue to look at. There is a teacher shortage, an administration shortage, and really just an employee shortage. I was just at a meeting this last Friday with another group of superintendents, and it was just mentioned that the amount of positions open at each site, and trying to hire individuals across the state, and not only hire, but also hire those that are highly qualified and highly effective. I mean, that's the thing. I think that we can put bodies into positions, but it's not the best people. And I know that we want to discuss that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Mr. Ramirez, as this was requested for this board meeting. And so I'll go ahead and turn over to Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you. Thank you for putting that on the agenda. Yeah, I was looking at these numbers that were given to us, and at the end of the semester, I saw that we had openings
we had 1 for biology, 1 for dance, 3 for English, 2 for history, 4 for math, and 1 for digital photography, which is 12 total. So I was just wondering why we have 9 here when we had 12 that we advertised earlier, right at the end of the semester.
Yeah, so because we do have individuals in those positions that may not be, that don't have their certification requirements met. So we do have those individuals, so we have to open those positions. So if we do have a person that ends up being qualified for those positions, then we would have to consider those individuals. So we do have people in positions, for instance, Mr. Kiwis in dance, but he does not have the certification yet for that. So we open it up if we do find a highly qualified or high quality qualified individual, then we're able to do that. So this is actual positions that we do not have a person for.
Well, I would strongly recommend that, well, first of all, of course, it's the number one thing that we always look for is qualified people, of course. But I would just suggest that we also ask them during interviews what plans they have with regard to longevity, or what kind of long-term commitment do they have to us. I think that that's an important question to ask during those interviews. You know, I always believe that we should always ask what extra they would do for us too. But I think that that's a really important one right now, considering that we had quite a few people leave. And I know for sure that some of those people left because they weren't happy with the discipline problems at the school. I know that for a fact. So when these new people come in, we're going to have to, Mr. Estrada is going to have to really back up the teachers when it comes to their complaints with regard to the discipline on the campus. I mean, I know that he does that to a degree right now, but he's going to really, like I said before at another meeting, he's going to have to start off really tough and stay like that and back up those teachers. Otherwise, we're going to get a bunch of new people. And if we don't back them up when they complain about discipline, they'll leave in a heartbeat. If we get a bunch of people that don't have a lot of experience, these kids, you know, they'll challenge them. And given the difference in culture and so forth down here near the border, you know, as I said in Spanish before, se los comen vivos, you know, so we have to give them the backup that they need right away, and they have to feel that consistency. That's the other big word that I wanted to say. There has to be a lot of consistency throughout the school year to solve a lot of these problems that we have. They're serious, and I'm hoping that Hector will take us seriously when we mention how serious they are, and we'll light the horns and do something this year with it to improve upon that.
Thank you. Just a comment with that. So we do, a lot of this information comes from exit interviews as well as survey results. So some of the individuals that you're talking about that mentioned that there were issues on campus, one of them specifically mentioned that it's not the administration that wasn't doing their job, but it's teacher apathy, that teachers are not outside of their classrooms, not supporting the administration in those endeavors. And I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying that was part of the exit interview survey results from the individual that I know had complained about discipline. And there were numerous of those individuals that were part of my 301 class on leadership.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, that had the opportunity to substitute for administrators and shadow administrators. And their comments were that administrators are out everywhere, but teachers are not. And so what we've asked Mr. Estrada to do is work with his team, because it's again, there's no fingers to point. We all are responsible. We are all going to make sure that our students are safe, secure, that they have the best teaching environment. And one of the reasons I wanted to also show this, the historic, I mean, we haven't really changed numbers. I mean, it's the numbers for the last 5 years. And if we go back even further, there may be even higher numbers previously to the 5 years. So they've been fairly steady as far as turnover rates. But we want to make sure that this is the place, not only for teachers, but obviously for students, families. We're investing a lot of money into our schools. We are investing a lot of training into individuals, and we want them to be supported. And so that's one of the things and why we have the leadership class, because I think that was an eye opener for many of those individuals. A majority of them are from the high school. And when they visited and did other things at other campuses, they were able to see some different types of discipline on how we do things in other sites within the district. But when they also shadowed at the high school, it was very eye-opening for them on that the things that they complained about were things that they were like, oh, we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job as a teaching staff to make sure that we're all working together. And obviously Mr. Sutton and his team are the leaders, and that responsibility falls on them, and it actually falls on me as the superintendent. And so we've had a lot of discussion. We had our leadership academy. A lot of the discussion was surrounded about that and how can we make our district better. And that's the one thing I would say that's different than our district. If you have a complaint, we tell people, don't complain, come with a solution. And my door is always open. There isn't anybody that I don't talk to, including those individuals that left. I've met with those individuals numerous times. And some just felt that they don't believe in personalized learning. They don't believe in standards-based grading. They don't believe in the things that we're moving towards. So it was a fit for them. And that's okay. And as I mentioned before, we have high expectations. We have high expectations for administrators. And if they're not going to do their job, then this isn't the right place for them either. And
perhaps that might be true, but I know for a fact that there's some of them that did support you in your causes, and they were still concerned with the discipline. At the last meeting that we had, I too mentioned how the teachers have to buy in, and it's their responsibility too, because it's their school too, and that they have to buy in and that they have to do their part as well. But Mr. Verdugo, I can tell you from personal experience of having worked in the district that I was very afraid to tell you and this board, this governing board, many things that were going on until I retired, because I was afraid of retribution. And that's the truth. And I feel that there are other teachers that maybe, even though they were within your class, maybe felt the same way, and they waited, and many of them feel maybe that they can speak their mind now, and something has to be done about that problem.
I have 2 classes every year that they have, and the focus of Leadership 1 is to what's not going well at your site and how can we fix it. And so the thing is, they have more voice, and if they don't have a voice, then I would say that they are just not using it, because the door has been open and there's no retribution. I think that's an excuse, to be honest. I think that's an excuse for them to say that things aren't working, and that's where the apathy falls in. If you have
you're one that's always told me that perception is very important, and so there is that perception of, and there is that that they have that perception of the culture of fear.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, because you say that perception is important. So
yeah, what retribution have I done to anybody? I mean, I would love to know that. I would love to know what retribution the board has had. I would love to know what administrative retribution, because to me that we have IBB for a reason, so that everybody has a voice there. I speak with the association on a weekly basis, whether I want to or not. And so and that's for the classified individuals, teachers. I mean, so if there's issues, we want to know. And that's the thing is I've been, this is 8 years, finishing 8 years. I've been a wide open book of as transparent as possible. When we had the Rad for Ed, I met with numerous teachers, including one that's leaving. And so to give him I walked him through those on the budget, specifically on how to read a budget, and all those things. So the thing is, like I said, if they're not using their voice, then it's an excuse, and they just don't want to use the voice. And there is, I'll tell you, I met with a teacher the last day of school, that had some concerns, and I met with that individual, and we sorted things out. And this person has been in the district for a long time, and he said, I can't believe that I just sent you an email and I had these complaints and you met with me the last day of school. I said, that's what we do in our district. If you have a question, I give my cell phone number out. I can even give my cell phone number out to any teacher to contact me, because again, we are a small district and we want to make sure our job is to serve. And the thing is, we're not going to solve these issues by complaining. That we need to know what the issues are so that we can address them. And I've already, the ones that I've received, Mr. Estrada has been told, these are the things that we need to fix. These are work with Dr. Lunderbilt. These are the things we need to fix. We are investing over $1 million into security cameras, vaping sensors, fencing. I mean, all of these things. And I'll talk about that during my superintendent's report as well of what the things that we need to do, with the Uvalde and other things that have happened within our country, so that we're prepared, and that burden falls on Dr. Lunderbilt. But, like I said, I'm not saying that everything's perfect, because we're far from it. We need to improve, and there's things that we need to improve, and we will always improve. And that's our, as we say, we're above the bar. We try to get better every day, better than we were the day before. But to say that teachers don't have a voice or there's fear of retribution, I think before I became superintendent, maybe that was the truth. But in the last 8 years, if they have used their voice, that burden's on them, and it's just an excuse.
Where do we go to seek our teachers right now? Where is our main area that we get our teachers from? What place do we go to?
All over. I mean, we don't do any out-of-state travel any longer. That's I think that there's we've actually opened the door this past year. One of the things that we worked really hard, and Mr. Kramer can take some credit for it, is that we worked with ESI. We've had this idea of recruiting Mexican teachers or South American teachers that know the language, know some of the culture. And this last year, I think we brought in 6 individuals. Those can correct me if I'm wrong. And the majority of those were very successful. And so, that's one of the things that we're looking at as well, because again, we're fighting all over the state of Arizona and now nationally. I mean, because it's not just a state of Arizona issue with a teacher shortage, but at the end of the school year, there was over 2,000 job openings in Arizona for teaching. And so you look at our limited numbers, the 12 that you mentioned, we do have people in some of those positions, but it's a nonstop process of trying to end. Not only that, but finding those that are able to get certified, because there are people that want to do it. And so the alternative certification process, but then they don't have the teaching experience. They may understand the content area, but they may not have the teaching experience. So that is on us to do that as well, to know how it is to be a teacher. So we have our mentor program and other things that we're revamping constantly as well. The TLA office is working with that. The school sites are working with that. But it's something, teacher recruiting and retention is something that we've have always worked really hard since I've been the superintendent as our team. But recruiting is something that we're battling all over the place. And so we have actually really opened the door with the South American Mexico corridor as well to try to get those. But that's been one of the areas. But we're I would say if one specific area there, that would be one, but we're a worldwide recruiting. It's not just Arizona and in the US, we are looking all over for teachers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And any other questions or comments?
Mr. Hayes.
I don't have any questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Beach.
No, I was just wondering, Dave, as far as hearing teachers' voices, is there a protocol or a forum that you guys have in your meetings or at the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, where they can actually, in a non-threatening manner, express their views throughout the year? Or
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they can.
I don't know if Hector might want to answer it or one of our principals.
Yeah, you can answer for his site, but yeah, absolutely, we do have process for them to use their association members, or they can go directly to their school site leadership. But Mr. Estrada, if you want to answer that question, you feel free to answer that.
Mimi's here.
Mimi's here. She raised her hand.
I think he unmuted, so I'll You are, okay.
Come on up to the podium.
Yep, we'll let Ms. Atria do that since she's in there.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I'm pretty sure every school has their own manner in which they do it. But for example, on our staff Cheetah News, there's a section there where there's a survey that's anonymous. So there's feedback, opinions, just to kind of make it safe. So we just check that as soon as we get a response and we address it.
Okay.
So I'm sure each site has something in place.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Estrada, do you want to comment?
Jackson, you're here. Do you want to say anything?
Mr. Estrada?
Jackson's come on up.
Oh, Mr. Jackson, okay.
I'll let Mr. Estrada go first, then I'll go.
All right, that's fine.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, at Rio Rico High School, our teachers primarily use their instructional leader. They'll inform their instructional leader of anything, so it can be anonymously. So we meet twice a week. And the question I always ask is, what do teachers need and what support do they need from me? And the second question I ask, is there any feedback concerns that need to be addressed? They'll bring it up there anonymously as feedback that they received from their teachers or teams. And then also teachers are aware, and or staff faculty is aware, that they can meet with me or any member of the admin team whenever they like.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, I think he's
here. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. Similar to what Mimi and Hector said, what I will say is that I do very, I would say, abundantly encourage people to communicate with me directly, because it ultimately is going to end up, in my realm of responsibility anyhow. If there are any concerns or suggestions for improvement, that's not to say that there's not opportunities for them to speak with others. We do have instructional team leaders to help organize instructional initiatives and to serve as a liaison to their instructional team, grade level and content specific. What I will say though is I don't want to give my instructional team leaders pseudo admin responsibilities or make the waters murky in terms of what that may look like. So I am very clear that if there's a concern of any kind, to just come and talk to me. Similar to what Mr. Verdugo was talking about, I'd like to think that I have an open door policy as well. When we have all staff meetings, if I sense or hear about something that's potentially brewing or being talked about, I will address it. I think I'm very good at addressing the elephant in the room, no matter how big or small, and I will just bring it up and I'll just say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm hearing about this. What are people's thoughts, ideas, concerns? Is there any confusion? And so I try to be very proactive in that sense. If there's something going on with a specific individual or individuals or a grade level team, I meet with our grade level teams regularly. So I will go in and I'll just say, hey, so what's up? And give them an opportunity to break the ice. And if they don't bring it up, I may say, hey, so I'm hearing some things about this. Do you have concerns? Let me answer any concerns you may have to try to make it easier on them and, disarm them from that fear of retribution, or I'm nervous to talk to the principal, because I do understand the weight that my position carries with it in terms of perceptions. So I try to be proactive on multiple fronts, I suppose, is what I'm trying to explain. And that's what it looks like at Mountain View.
And just to follow up, I have met with at least one teacher from every site that had a concern this year. And so they've felt, again, comfortable to come to me, whether it be as a parent, even though they're a member of the team. I've also met with bus drivers. I've met with even custodians that are from Sodexo that have a concern. So again, we try to make sure that we understand we are a team. And I tell everybody from the get-go, no one works for me. We all work together. I just have a different position. And so the door is always open. And like I mentioned, if somebody has a question, I'm always open to giving my cell phone number to individuals to call me if they feel comfortable. I will go to their site if they would rather that. meet after hours if they don't want people to see them, that type of stuff, if they want to do it anonymously, anything to get the information so that we can solve issues and problems to make sure that their voice is heard and that we're moving forward and getting better.
Yes, Mr. Sandlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to contribute on a broad scale. We've been talking a lot about the individual schools and individual personalities and comfort levels, but let's not forget the Leadership Academy is the culminating event of what starts with what we call a comprehensive needs assessment. Starts in December, January, February. It's an anonymous survey that involves teachers, parents, students, community members and whatnot. And as the name suggests, it's to help get anonymous feedback on a whole variety of topics. There's 6 different principles. There's a whole, help me out, the form itself is like 12 pages long of all sorts of questions and so on. And all that filters down to where the principals can identify their site leaders. And we just finished, as you know, 2 days at the end of the school year, taking all that feedback and in a, you know, let's say a non-emotional 2-day sort of retreat environment, diving deeply into, well, what do we need to do to solve these issues? So if discipline bubbles up from the stakeholders as a primary issue on any particular campus, that would be the team. And those teams are 80% teachers. I mean, there's 1 or 2 principals typically. The high school, I guess, would have 4 principals. Everybody else there, I think Hector had 18 people there. So 18 minus 4, you had 14 teachers and counselors trying to help the administration work together to address whatever those issues might be. And I imagine discipline would have been one of them had that been, you know, presented to that team. So I just want to throw that there as a very broad idea.
Yeah, I would.
Mr. Estrada, speaker. I think I still have the floor.
I think he spoke something. He said something already, unless he wants to say something more. Mr.
Okay,
Estrada?
no, I remember. Yeah, just to end it, I think the anonymous surveys are good, but I always like having a voice, a face to the voice. I think you know, throw this out there because you want solutions. A lot of time as a staff, it's a real easy protocol. Notice, wonder, you put up the data, what's going on in the classroom, discipline data, et cetera. What are you noticing about that data? What are you wondering? What are some of your feelings as a group, as a staff? And then start addressing those issues as a staff. Because that way everybody gets to participate. It's not just the team leader, it's that biology teacher, it's that PE teacher. And there's some simple protocols out there that can be used in a non-threatening manner, but it allows everybody to have a voice and to address these on-site issues that might be coming up in the future. But that's all I have.
Yeah. I'll bring it. And then I know you want to say something, Mr. Burns, and maybe Ms. Phobie, and you had something to say as well. However, I'll just say this is that, you know, the turnover rate is something that, yes, we talked about this before. It's a discussion that's not new. It certainly was brought up. And again, I was out 2 years, came back, 2 years, but even the first term I was on, the second term, the same discussions. We've had this before. We've had this conversation. Ms. Phobie has been there since 2008. She's been here. She's heard these discussions. We certainly, business, office, HR, we've had these discussions. I'll say this as a former person who turned over rate 100% at a site, 100%. Granted, it was a small school, much like the 26%, 21% at our smallest school. You lose 2 people and it's 26%. Well, it's not about that, but she's an A school. And when, bless us, he's still a good guy, Casey O'Brien, back in the days when he brought me over and said, you need to make some changes. Well, the changes are getting rid of sometimes teachers. Sometimes they're not a fit with the whole, what you were just saying right there, Brad. Are they part of the team? Now, I guess what I'm going to roll back in and say is that if we have good academic achievement and we have good school climate, I don't care what the turnover rate is on your campuses, as far as I'm saying. If we have the discipline under control and we don't hear things as board members out there that the school is going, and we look and see it's a C school, well, then I've got a concern because I'm going, well, then maybe there isn't control there. But if I see an A school or a B school and we hear the climate is doing pretty well, I don't care what you're, and this is Joel Kramer's opinion as a former guy. Like I said, I had 100% turnover rate after my 6 years. And yes, thank you, Mr. Verdugo. I was the first one in Nogales to bring teachers from India. And there's 7 of them still out there teaching, which is great. And a few in Rio Rico that I kind of helped push in back in the days. Anyway, the point being is on that. Again, I'm not discounting this, Mr. Ramirez. All I'm saying is, as principals, you want the autonomy, you got it. But if you're bringing in and your turnover rate is high and there's things going on at your school, I'm sure Mr. Verdugo will be the first one to say, hey, this isn't working here. You're not doing it. They're jumping the ship. And not because of, oh, you don't get along. They're jumping the ship because of there's not a lot of academic achievement. And because of that, this campus is not all, the climate is not all that great. So again, that's my perspective on this, because again, I've been there. I know the turnover rates. Granted, I was at Nogales High School for years. We lost 10 teachers every year over there, 12 teachers every year, including in 2000, starting 98, 99. I was there for what, 8 years? It was always 12 to 14 teachers a year.
42 district-wide.
Back in the, yes, back in the days. So we were like, almost like Rio Rico High School, we were losing 12 teachers every year. And granted, some when we were like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Good. They weren't fit, they weren't a good fit at the campus. They weren't a good fit for the kids. They weren't good teachers. That's my perspective on this. I'm not discounting because you know I'm very strong about discipline. You know I'm big on that because that was, I always felt that was the key ingredient to any success on your campus, because that's where it starts. As I said, the parents don't care what biology book you're using, but they care if their kid's safe at school. And I'll bring that back because I got something I've sent out, but that's my opinion on this about the turnover rate. And again, Mr. Verdugo, I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder here. That's just my opinion of what I've seen and what I've seen before and what I would expect from our teachers. That maybe you're an A school, correct? As the last point, were you? A B? Where was our last A school?
Cotamonte and San Cayetano have both been A's and B's.
Right, in the past, A's and B's, right? Okay. Well, your goal is to get back to an A, right? So if you've given up 4 teachers because you know what, they weren't doing their job, what's going to show up here is 26%, right? Okay, well, then your results will probably show it the next year. Jackson, same thing. I mean, that's what we're gauged on. We're gauged on academic performance and school climate from the parents. Really, you know, I'm granted, Mr. Ramirez, I know, again, I'm not trying to diminish what, because you had a good intentions on that. And I know it's still in good intentions, but I'm just saying that's what we look at. Just bringing up from the past of what we had talked about before and what we expect, I guess. Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you. Well, that's why I think it's healthy to have this discussion. It will be difficult sometimes. We share ideas and sometimes it even changes people's perspective of things here on the governing board, and which is a good thing at times. Sometimes we just need more information. But with regard to solutions that you were mentioning, Mr. Kramer and Mr. Verdugo, I think it would be wise this coming year to maybe have more surveys, one every quarter, maybe just asking the teachers what they see locally on the campuses, not just Rio Rico High School, but all schools, asking them what they see and what kinds of, asking them for solutions directly. What kinds of things do you see and what would you recommend? So that, because you might not hear any of that kind of thing from them. We all get so busy too, that's part of the equation. Everyone's so busy that made me think about the forms, Steve. That people are so busy that, you know, the forms may be there to be voicing their opinions and so forth, or concerns. But I remember when I was a teacher and we would get called in for a meeting and they would give us a survey. That just seemed to take care of the issue, lickety split. You had the time right there and then to do it quickly. And so you might get more of a feedback and maybe a different angle, what's going on in the schools if you do those surveys more frequently, maybe. That's just a suggestion. and it's your ship. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but that's what we're here for on the governing board, to make suggestions and be guardians. So there you go. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you for putting this on the agenda. Once again, I think it's great to discuss this.
Absolutely. I think it's a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Solving, did you have anything? I saw you maybe want to interject, but you were probably saying what I was saying on the.
I was agreeing.
I think that's where you were adding. That's what I was saying.
You wanted to hear me say I was agreeing out loud.
I just wanted to see it if I missed up, because last time I messed you on the other conversation. I don't want to repeat my error. All right, we're good with this. Yes, very good. Thank you. And thank you, principals, for coming up. Certainly, it's always good input. And, you know, where we stand, you know that. We've got your, along with Mr. Verdugo and your team here. All right, going back to Mr. Verdugo then, superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kramer. Just a few things. You know, as I mentioned, we're in the process of our construction for the summer. We do have some projects, the lights at the fields and our radio tower cameras all are being worked on this summer. And one of the main portions, again, is the cameras and security element that we are introducing that within the district. And I know that we'll put it on a later topic just because it's still fresh, and I think it's something that we will need to discuss just so that the community is aware of things. And Dr. Lunderville has been at the forefront, not only with our district, but in Southern Arizona as far as the emergency response. You know, we are always involved with active shooter events. We participated in a large scale training at the resort this past school year with our law enforcement students. I think sports medicine students all were participants to go and see and experience those things. And it's something it's sad that we have to prepare for those events. But with Uvalde has really opened up that door again of that we have to discuss those items and be prepared for that. So I just wanted to notify the board, Dr. Lunderville has given you an FYI, but also that we do prepare for those events and we will continue to prepare for those events. But it will be a much more in-depth discussion either during a retreat with the board, or we will bring it back as an item of the board so that we can discuss that, because again, I think that's something that the community is going to want to know. You know, obviously we received a lot of emails, questions, you know, what are we doing to prepare? But again, we've invested a lot in certain security measures, but we will discuss what we do as a district to make sure that we keep our students and staff safe. Other things, again, I already mentioned the government relations meeting that I attended, opportunities to share what we're doing as a district with the business community, and then invited them to come into our district to understand how to procure with us and do business with us. So I think that went well. Also want to share with the board that I was selected as a mentor for the ASA and American Association of Superintendents, the national organization for the Latina aspiring superintendents. And so I will be doing that this year. I'm going to be mentoring 4 individuals, including an individual from Oregon who is aspiring to be a superintendent. So it's a compliment to be selected by the national organization to be a mentor for that group. In addition, I was just named to the ASIALIS board, which is the Association for Latin Administrators in Arizona. So I was named to that board. And so that another honor that I'm happy to be part of, so that we can continue to showcase what's happening in our district and make sure that individuals know the positive things that are happening in our community. Because I think sometimes, you know, when people, again, continue to think we're close to the border and other things that are happening within the country, that understand the positive things that are happening. And it's my opportunity to go out and brag about our district and the great things that we are doing within our district. So, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Verdugo. Subject D, governing board member report. Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, if we don't see your face, you don't get to give your report. All right.
That's
unfortunately, I don't have anything to report.
Oh, okay, but well,
Yeah.
just wanted to test it out. That's why. You remember, you're helping us get this lined up.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Fobian.
You. Dr. Lundeville, the letter of 526, I truly appreciated it. It was thoughtful and reassuring. And I think at the time that you wrote it, it was something that really needed to go out. So that was your safety message to families. I really loved the principal reports. It was, in my mind, when school ends on such high notes, it's like a guarantee the kids want to go back because you made it feel so good. And the reports were good. They had some depth to them, but it was all positive. I heard about the car wash that was to benefit the Uvalde families, and I went and I wanted to really recognize them. It was the Aztec youth from Cotamonte and from Rio Rico High School. I want to give the names, and I know Mr. Ramirez is going to help me on this because this is one of those names that I'll never really get. Okay, Cuauhtemoc Sanchez, Gabriel Orantia, Andy Flores, Matthew Ramsauer, Oscar Alvarez. Those are all Rio Rico High School students, and from Cotamonte, Bianca Ramirez, Alex Flores, and Julian Orencia. And the parent liaison from Cotamonte, Yara Sanchez, was also involved. And I understand that they raised $763, and it was all for to benefit the families of the Uvalde students. So that's my report. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Beach.
Yes, follow up with Susan again, just making our students feel special. I was down at Garrett's and the parents are still talking about the transition ceremonies, the graduation ceremonies. So again, a big thanks to our principal, support staff, because I know it takes a lot of hard work to put that together, but it's definitely worth it. And congrats, Dave, on those mentorship and your other things. They're lucky to have you. Yep. And I know you're going to represent Rio Rico, our district, in a positive manner. So congrats on those 2 honors. Last but not least, I did have a former Rio Rico student of mine when I taught honors biology here at the Rio Rico High School. She graduated med school a couple of years ago, did her internship, and she's officially now a doctor. Her name is Shreya Gupta. And super proud of her, super proud that I could say I actually taught her, and maybe my biology helped her out in that degree. But I sent her a little note stating that we're in doctor shortage down here. So if she needs a job, she can definitely come back and get back to our community. So congrats to her and Mr. and Mrs. Gupta. It's a big accomplishment. So, and coming from Rio Rico, look at that. Woo. Yep, that's all I got.
All right. Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, congrats to Shreya. Yeah, it's awesome. And I had pretty much the same thing to say Mr. Beach did about transition and graduation. I want to thank all the people that put that together because it was very successful. And I'm also very happy, Mr. Verdugo, that we invested in the cameras for the schools. So I feel that it'll put a lot of minds at ease, especially on the weekends, you know, when people aren't we don't have so many people there on campus, and maybe it'll cut down a lot of graffiti and other stuff that's been going on. So I feel that this is a really good positive step that we're taking to help cut down a lot of the nonsense of the administration. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly, yes. Let's see. I got transitions. Went very well. The 8th grade transitions. Steve, thank you for catching me. I was dehydrated. But principals, as the, I was never said I was the judge, but I'll say I was the judge. And I'll have to say that after being at both transitions, that Calabasas parents did the outstanding job of decorating all their cars. They win the decoration awards. I know I wasn't appointed that, but I will say that although Cotamundi did really well and they were very well organized. However, I'll say it was a good time. I'm sure they still love that, and I would say that's the way it's going to be. They enjoy that, and certainly it's well worth it because each and every one of those families and parents were very proud. Graduation, as we know, we're all there. John, of course, but that went really well. It was a good graduation. I know we've been a month, but I figured I'd bring it up because it was a good, certainly. I want to say that I chatted with Chris Young at the Mariachi Festival in Patagonia Lake for those of us that attended. It is back on now, and next year, hopefully some of you will attend, but I did chat with him about it. He was saying good things about our district. Dr. Lundeville, he said good things about what you did for the grant writing, certainly. And it was in the paper, but good job on that. And the fact that I told him now that Chris is seeing that we're doing well out here, he could stay and eat lunch with us more often rather than just one time. So those of us that remember at the law conference, bringing that up. Yes, the car wash, I just drove by, turned around, I said, wait a minute, dropped by $20, gave him $20, said here, it's not for me, but for any of the wounded vets. So Brad, you were wounded, did they give you your car wash? No? Okay. Well, anyway, that's what I tried to give 20. I just try to give to at least what help the cause. And I told them if there's somebody like yourself, not yourself, but anybody that needs it like that. I want to give a shout out to the county and certainly Rudy Millett helped push that. They are going to build that sidewalk along Yavapai from Garrett's to Via Belladonna. So that will be another connection in Rio Rico of sidewalks because a lot of people walk in Via Belladonna area because of the neighborhood, the trees, all that good stuff, but they like walking. But now they're going to even have more pathway to Garrett's. They're putting a sidewalk there. Hopefully they finish the pathway along the frontage road, connecting then to Belladonna on the other side. So that way that pathway will run all the way up and back around. So it was really good to see that. It certainly makes us as Rio Rico that much even better. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, we talked about it, Steve, and hopefully we can bring this up again. Certainly that, and I need to go with you because I want to see it, but because I had some occurrences in the last 2 months, and I've never had them in my life before with the supernatural type thing, whatever, with pictures and footprints and all that good stuff that I was like, wait a minute. The fact is that we have a cemetery right here in the back of our property. I think it would behoove us to have a student project to get that cleaned up, to get it as they did with the other side, the Calabasas Cemetery along the interstate over there. We get that fixed up like that because it would be interesting to know the names as well, because I think it's of historical value. It's certainly a good history lesson for our students, for those that would do it. But I think that we're one of the few, I would say we're one of the few school districts in this country that could say we have a cemetery in our property. So I think that would be something, not that we need a claim to fame on that, but it certainly adds to the niche of our district of how great we really are. And the fact that we show and pay tribute, I think that would even be better. So I would certainly love to, if it need be, I would even be willing to help as well.
There's still plots available, or?
that's true. We never know, right?
Hall of Famers
right.
that want to
yes.
stay here.
Now, are those people stake that land? Does this land still belong to them? You know, that'd be an attorney question, right?
Mr. President,
yes.
I will provide the governing board with an FYI on the efforts of Cotamundi and Rio Rico High School ROTC on that project.
Are they going to tackle that?
They have been. It just with COVID, it didn't happen.
Oh, well then very good.
I know I'm not supposed to comment during this time, but I will.
Well, you can certainly That's all right. You're the one that broke the opening.
The clerk allowed me to. So.
Right. Nevertheless, it isn't, it's not.
But
that's
I will
good.
send
No,
you
that's
the
certainly
schedule.
good. No, I think that's very important. And then the last thing that and Mr. Verdugo, you and I chatted about this, you did bring it up. I sent the report to yourself. If you saw your email, Mr. Shadler, Dr. Lunderville, I spent a day and a half reading this report. And I will say that it's very important that we share it and read it because it's the Parkland report. And one of the parents that was on that commission actually reached out to Texas as well, saying there's things in there that you guys need to see across the country you need to see. I've been approached, obviously, where I work now to say, hey, can you give us training and all that? And I said, it's not that easy. It's not a one size fits all. It's not a let's meet in this room and have a training and go back to our site. It really has to be a site-based training for each and every school. If you read the report, please read the report and send it to the principals because you're going to see that all those guys had training. All those officers had the training. The SRO was on, and I'm not throwing rocks, but that guy was on campus with a gun and he had training. The security guards saw the gentleman come onto campus, did nothing. The young boy that came upon this guy in the beginning, he ran out because he let him go, told one of the security officers, they never did a red alert. There was so many red flags that they probably could have, and this probably obviously happens across the country. Gates being left open, doors being unlocked, cameras, we have the cameras, but they're not being monitored. I mean, if you're gonna have cameras, you're gonna have to monitor them. And they didn't even have somebody trained on the cameras. They thought that gentleman was still on campus, but they were seeing a replay. So they delayed it 20 minutes, but please read the report. I'm just rehashing what I read, but it's very important that we do that because if we're moving in that direction, then we should move in that direction correctly and actually be doing that. Because it's not jump through the hoops, and we've done it. Because it is a constant, every year, we need to refresher, we need to do it and stay on top of it. Because again, that town was a community of how many in Texas? 32,000? Something like that, 19, 20,000? Parkland is 32,000. The Texas community was 22,000. Well, how big are we, 22,000? And without bringing any other, I'm just saying that I think that it's important, Mr. Verdugo, that I'm glad you guys are going that direction, but it's important. And the last final thing for the rest of the board is, and Mr. Verdugo and I were chatting about, we didn't do a retreat, but I know that he and I chatted about maybe possibly doing a half-day retreat when we're all together, maybe at the law conference. Mr. Verdugo certainly will look at that again, but it's always good to have discussions with each other, certainly. Just to have good conversations. And that's my governing board member report. Thank you. All right, information, discussion, action, proposing prior to topics, policy, dates and times for future board meetings. Mr. Hayes.
Yes, sir. I have one kind of touching on what you talked about. It's very, very specific. Given the events in Uvalde, Texas, as well as the Supreme Court ruling in Castle Rock v. Gonzalez that says that unless the local legislature, county or state in our case, has legislated an affirmative duty for law enforcement to act, there is no affirmative duty for law enforcement to actually protect or rescue anyone. Therefore, I'd like to have representatives of not only the county attorney's office, the state attorney general's office, the sheriff's office, and DES address the board in terms of to detail what, if any, affirmative action duty local law enforcement has by either ordinance of the county or the state, or if there isn't any, what can they do to help us work to develop such an affirmative duty?
Very good point, because that was brought up. Thank you, certainly. You may want to email that because.
Yeah, he has. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Ramirez?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Beach?
Just maybe a review of the lockdown procedure. that's on everybody's mind.
All right, Ms. Bobian?
Nothing, thank you.
I have nothing. I think you saw the list. We've dwindled it down fairly well. Okay, we move on to item number 4, which is our consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. Any matter of the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a regular agenda item upon the request of any board member. Do I hear any requests? With that said, hearing none.
I like number 12 removed.
Which is your EPARs? All right. With that said, then do I hear a motion to approve and accept the consent agenda as presented with the removal of item number 12?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We move on to item number 12, EPARs. I will turn this over to Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. Well, as you know, Mr. Verdugo, because I discussed this briefly with you, I'm very concerned about Mr. Laughlin taking over the head baseball position, mainly because we've had a lot of problems at the high school this past year, and I feel that considering that he would have to be doing practices and going to games, he would have to leave campus very often with his team, and I feel that we should really pursue other avenues to see whether there are other people out there that could do this, the head coaching job, instead of an assistant or an administrator at the high school. Again, I feel strongly about him being there this coming year. And I feel there are a lot of other people too, and not only on our campus, but people like Eli. And I just think of somebody like Eli Doyle, who used to be a coach and even took our team to state. I'm wondering why we can't find other people right now to be the head coach of the baseball team.
One of the things that we've always tried to do is, again, hire the best people, best individuals for those positions. And we did open, and we have a neighboring district that takes a lot of our student athletes. And that was one of the things that was in consideration, that we had a large number of middle schoolers that were going to be leaving unless we made a change to a quality individual. Mr. Laughlin, when he was the principal in Casa Grande Middle School, was the head baseball coach at Vista Grande, took them to the Final Four, I believe. And so he does have a lot of experience. And one of the things that we will do is, if we do find a high quality individual, we can revisit that opportunity. But my recommendation is to have him in there. And we had 147 referrals this last year, which is not that comparative, not that many. And I know that we mentioned that we have a lot of concerns and things like that, and we'll be working on those. But one of the things that in conversation with Mr. Kramer, I think that this was a great comment, Mr. Kramer, that you said we are not like other districts. And I think that is rings true in this event as well, that we have people to do the best thing for our students. And if we're not doing that, it's a disservice to the students.
Well, I feel that I don't question his ability to coach, not at all, nor do I have anything against him personally at all. That's not the issue. The issue for me is that he really needs to be at the school. And I don't think it's very wise for us to have administrators be head coaches of any sport. And I also think that instead of saying, well, let's put him in there, and then if we find somebody else, we can change that. I think that's putting the cart before the horse. I like the idea of looking first before we take that avenue.
Yeah, we have summer things going on right now. We have that was the big thing that was not happening. I mean, club stuff going on right now. So it was essential to get that person in there right now to make sure that things are happening in the summer, because that's the expectation to build that program. That we do have student athletes that can be very successful, and we have it. And so I think that's as Mr. Kramer mentioned earlier, we're investing a lot. We invested in a lot of dugouts, batting cages. I mean, we're investing a lot into other items. But like I said, and Mr. Laughlin, I mentioned this to you, that he is there as much or more than any employee we have within the district. He is always there. Mr. Estrada is the other, that night events, weekend events, any event that was out of town, Mr. Laughlin went to. State chess, state cross country, wrestling, all within the same weekend. And I know that he is at the school more than anybody. And I think, we have the spring that will be baseball season, and he'll be at the school still. And that's my thing that I've said from the beginning of hiring administrators to do that. Why limit those individuals? They've shown it. Just like if there's a teacher that is the best, we will hire the teacher that's the best. If there's a classified person that's the best, we will hire that person. We want to make sure that our kids have the best opportunity to be successful with the best coach.
Anything else, Mr. Nurse?
No, I've spoken my piece on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can go back and say I had this conversation with Mr. Verdugo, because everyone knows where I stand on this for the last 15 years. And if Mr. Verdugo and I was convinced, not wholeheartedly, but I was convinced that if he says that this was the best candidate and he feels that nothing is going to change as far as discipline and academic achievement at Rio Rico High School, because that is our priorities first. I thought academic achievement, school climate, then sports. But he says if those two are not going to be hinged or unhinged by him being coach, I guess I can change my paradigm shift. I never was a big believer, and I grew up in a district that was not allowed to do that. So in fact, the superintendent was, those of us who have been here for 30 some years, remember a recall was done because of something like this as well. Things have changed, obviously. We're not that district. I'm just giving my opinion on this because obviously I had this feeling before too, and nothing personally against Steve either. You know that because we've had this conversation, but I'm not disagreeing, but I'm listening to the superintendent. He's told me that. So got my support on that, Mr. Ramirez. And I'm not going against, again, I'm not trying to take away. I'm just giving you, because I was the one that was out there like you, being that lightning rod and going, oh. But he's the one that gets, stops with him, right? Is that true, Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. And again, we'll evaluate if it's not working. We're always make a change. That's the thing is we want the best coaches for our students because we owe them that. If we're going to continue to say that we're going to be the best in everything we do, we want to provide the best opportunity for them to be successful. And that means a high quality teacher, high quality coach. And, those of you that are coached, Mr. Beach and knows that teaching and coaching are no different. They're the same thing, and Mr. Ramirez, the same thing, knows that, if you are good in the classroom, you're good on the field or on the mat, and the same thing, as an administrator, that you are there to support the kids. And if it begins to, conflict and we have an issue, then we will make that adjustment. And that's something that I'm adamant about, that if it starts to cause an issue, then we will definitely make the change.
All right. Anything else?
Definitely a tough decision, now hearing from all board members and you, Dave, because I know Steve and I coached together when he was an administrator, and state champs, right? We were state champions that year in cross country. So I know it can work, but we're in a different situation here with Chris being athletic director. I also want him to be the best athletic director that he can. And as a head coach, man, I just looked at I was going 10 months out of the year. He's going to have to do the preseason. That's going to go into wrestling, basketball. It's going to go into other sports, postseason, summer leagues, you know, and he's got to be at those games. He's got to be, you know, getting those reps. He's got to be talking to parents. He's got to be mentoring these new coaches that are coming up. And I foresee as a head coach, we're going to run into problems there, you know, and I got that feeling that he's not going to be able to fulfill that athletic director position the way it should be fulfilled. And it's just that position. It's a different situation with Steve. He was up here. He wasn't dealing with sports, long hours, late nights, you know, and I know baseball, it's a full commitment as a head coach. And there's a lot of traveling involved. So with me, I'm just looking down the future that it's going to impact his current position in a negative way, probably. Okay. I'm wondering if an assistant coach would be a better fit. So he, you know, he can come to practices late. If he's got to be at a volleyball game, he can miss a week if he has to. It could still be his program. He could still implement his procedures, protocols, and practice schedules, etc. But I probably foresee a better fit would be an assistant coach. You know, I'm looking at it in that aspect. So I want you to give that some thought. I know we have a summer to recruit a head coach, and maybe give some thought about him becoming an assistant coach and maybe recruiting a buddy of his or someone that has that level of expertise. But that's my thought on the issue right now.
Tonight.
Yes.
I refuse to second guess the administration. I don't think they threw names in a hat and pulled them out. I think these people are intelligent enough to have made a decision. They understood what the position entailed. Mr. Kramer, you and I came from a district where one of the reasons we didn't like to have people do the dual with the athletics is it rarely worked. There was a lot of abdicating responsibility to do this instead of that. That hasn't happened here. We were really concerned about Mr. Shadler doing that. It came from an honest perspective. But when we saw the reality that there was no downside, and again, we either trust the administrators or we don't. I'm not going to second guess them. I'm not going to tell them to rethink something. More than one person made this decision. We either trust them or we don't. And I'm trusting. If it doesn't work, they'll do corrective action. We've seen that time and time again. If it's not working, they leap in and fix it. But I am not going to tell them how I think they should be doing it.
Thank you.
As far as if I can
Thank you.
speak on that, is it's not a trust issue with the administration. I'm just foreseeing some problems with the position that he holds as athletic director. And, you know, I'm open to it, but like I said, we have the summer to look for a head coach. An assistant might be a better fit for him because of his job description. And that's my advice.
Mr. Hayes, you popped up. Oh, you disappeared. Oh, are you wanting to say something?
Yes, sir. Mr. Verdugo, one question. He volunteered for the position. He put himself in for the position, correct?
Yes, we were looking for somebody, but we had to, time was of the essence because of the students were saying they were going to leave unless we had a high quality person in that position. And so
correct. And that's a long-term problem we've had with especially with baseball, is a certain district to a cardinal direction that is not north, east, or west, stealing students by recruiting them out of our middle schools. So if this puts a stop to it, I'm all for it. But the fact that he decided that he can take those responsibilities on in addition to his other responsibilities, to me, says that he believes he can do this. So the benefit of the doubt should be given to him until such time as it's proven otherwise.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. President, I have the floor. Well, I have a question for you. Will he be leaving the campus during games, when there are games going on away from you?
If there are away games, yes, and that's what we cover.
So he
even
will leave then, right?
He leaves the campus. He leaves the campus even when there are games now, whether he's not coaching or not, because he'll attend away games to support, and we have the other administrators will support at home. We always send.
Well, if he leaves, then that'll take him away from school and his responsibilities, which brings me back to Mr. Leach's point, which is
it's no different than any other
be
time.
taken away from those responsibilities then.
No, it's no different than any other time during the year. So like if there's a away wrestling match and an administrator will travel to that away wrestling match, so they're going to leave the site anyway. And so this would be, he would not only be the coach, but he would be the administrator on site at that event. So when we have away events, we try to have an administrator attend those events. So somebody will leave the campus for all away events.
Right. Well, I still feel we have very highly qualified people that could take over that position if we look. And I feel still strongly that we should take that avenue before we decide to take the one that we're currently doing. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just a final observation. If we did have highly qualified people, they didn't put their names in. So us going and trying to make people take a position they obviously have no interest in is not something I think we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Many people that weren't aware of that, who are highly qualified. That's what I have to say.
It was posted.
Okay, I'm going to roll this back here, and then we'll. As Mr. Verdugo just said, and Mr. Hayes, thank you for a good point. If it was posted and we had people that were highly qualified, applied, and if they did vetting the way it is, he was the best candidate, so be it. I, as a former administrator, will say this. Hey, well, more power to the principal and the assistant principal, because they're just taking on more extra duties. And if they're willing to do that without getting paid extra, are they getting paid extra for their extra duties? No, okay. But this assistant principal will get paid extra because he's going to get the addendum, correct?
Correct.
All right. So he's taking on, they're taking on his duties without extra pay, but he's going to get paid for coaching. Listen, I'm putting it out there so we all know what's going on. Very good. So the coverage, the other guy, the other people, I was going to say guys pronoun, but whoever the high school administration, rest of the team is going to cover spring sports more than what they normally would because they've got their cohort away games. So then Mr. Verdugo, at all the away games from starting in the fall, from cross country to football, do we send, and girls volleyball, do we always send an administrator at every away game?
We try to, yep, we try to make sure that we have somebody attend, including we had created a position for Mr. Kuhn, if you remember, to somebody to travel with teams, just so that we had some type of administrative presence at away. But Mr. Estrada can comment on that. But we try to schedule individuals to be at home as well as at the away games, because it's an important piece for us. You know, things happen, and so it's not 100%, but we try to have as many people attend away games as possible. Mr. Estrada.
So he'll be covering the baseball varsity game.
Yeah, he'll be and JV, then he'll be there. So he'll be there.
Travel together. Well, yeah, but he's over on one field, there on another. He's not gonna. He's more concerned about the game than covering the softball game, I would think. Yeah. I would think he'd be focused on coaching a baseball game, right?
Yeah, he would.
Definitely. Yes. So he's not going to be covering the softball game.
No. But if something
He's there in
happens,
case something happened.
yeah, okay, something happens, I mean, that's
Right.
the case anyway. So, Mr. Estrada, I don't know if you want to comment on that?
I just hold on. I am not discounting my cohorts here. I'm not discounting what you had to say, Ms. Fobian, Mr. Beach. Yeah. All the relative points, all good points, I think, again, it's a discussion. And again, I'm throwing it back onto our superintendent because our superintendent is putting himself in the position of, I'm the superintendent. I've agreed to what the principal's doing. They're getting paid big bucks to do this and make these decisions. And if anything does come about, hopefully they fix it or they say, you know what, we got to make a change. I'm not disagreeing because I would never have done this as a athletic director because it would have been way too dang hard. And I know my cohorts would have said, yeah, right, Joel. It would have happened. I'm just saying what would have at that time. And I'm not discounting because it's going to be a lot more work for him. He's getting the addendum for baseball, but it's going to be a lot more work for him. If he's willing to tackle that without any discrepancies, without any concerns, without any things that are going, hey, wait a minute, last year we did this. Maybe and as athletic director, who I would assume Mr. Estrada is going to oversee the budget because you don't want the, as I say, fox guarding the hen house, because does he get the same amount? Is he going to get all good equipment? Is he going to get everything because he's overseeing the athletic budget? I'm not saying he's doing that. Again, these are questions brought up by your rest of your people that don't say anything, but they're going to say it behind the scenes in the wind. And I'm bringing this up because you know it's going to be said. So hopefully that is addressed and hopefully everything is looked at that because people do that. It's human nature. They're going to say, hey, wait a minute. How come the baseball team didn't have to take the meals and they got to stop for meals and they got more money for meals? And not that they're going to, but the thing is, it's going to be there. Yeah, any little extra the baseball team gets, it's going to be there. And I'm bringing it up right now because I know that's the comments.
Dr. Lunderville oversees athletic along with the management team. So she's the one that has been involved with every aspect of the athletic budget. I don't know if you
and I don't need answers for that. I'm just bringing that up, Mr. Because again, it's falling back on you and Mr. Estrada. Good. And again, with Mr. Beach, Mr. Ramirez, with Ms. Fobian, and Mr. Hayes all had relative good points on their opinions of what they see this as. You heard it, you go with it. And we'll leave it at that because I'm closing that discussion up now.
So we would need a vote if possible.
Yes, we do. Yes, I was just looking over here.
When you make the motion, you might want to make sure that the board understands that it's the entire consent agenda that they're going to vote on, right, unless it's in two separate motions. Right. If they want to vote it.
It's the approval, this item number 12, because we pulled everything off. So it is approval of the attached personal action request of all the file attachments. So I do hear a motion to approve that, what I just said.
So moved.
I said approval of the attached personal action request, the EPARs, all the list of items. I had a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No, because I closed it off. With that said, then all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Nay. I haven't got to that yet. Those opposed?
Nay.
All right, 4-1. That's good discussion. Thank you. And thank you for voting how you felt. That's good. All right, governing board meeting evaluation. I'll say this because I've never evaluated and I'm going to do it right now because I'd like to see Mr. Verdugo. Thank you for having your face shot on there and being part of it. It's good to see Mr. Hayes. You popped in and out last time. You were here all the time, but it would certainly behoove us to help. You remember you're helping us, so you may not want to have showed your face, but it's certainly good. Mr. Estrada, I think that everybody that attends, it would be helpful because then we can remember we want to see how the windows would pop up if we had more than 4 people. How are the screens going to look? I'm just suggesting that because it will help us in the future for any other meetings that we may be doing because this is a good project right now for us later. So certainly a recommendation for that. And very good discussions. Thank you, board members. Again, very good, honest discussions.
Thank you.
We keep it real. With that said, other than Ms. Fobian, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Hearing no opposed. Those that are going to not adjourn.
Abstain.
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 John, you abstain too?
For fun, yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so we had 3-0-2. And if somebody voted no, we would never have, would have had to stay here.
That's why you don't vote on adjournment.
Well, that's fine. I wanted to see, I was thinking about that. We are adjourned at 6:48, 44. Oh, that's 6:44.
Thank you.
I think these are gonna last 10 minutes.
I know. I was saying, oh, we'll be done by 6.
I didn't think so. I think it went faster than I expected. I wasn't planning. I told my kids to figure out their own.
Yeah.
Good night.
Do it by themselves.
Nah, just don't forget to
Sign the papers.
Are you trying to say something? Okay, I thought only the clerk and the.
Not in this one.
You were trying to say something?
No, I'm just still participating because it's actually, I'm just enjoying the being present at the meeting.
I know.
I thought we voted on the consent agenda. You pulled that one.
No.
No, I mean, E-Pars. I pulled
It's
everything.
everything on E-Pars.
Because he didn't
It's
specify.
so you didn't specify.
He didn't
so.
specify. So
I thought he said number 12.
He did say E-Pars, but it's every name on the E-Par that.
If Mr. Ramirez would have specified
Yep.
E-Pars, blah, blah, blah.
I just didn't want it, if it would have died, you would have had to revote because
You would have, none of
you would have nullified
Right.
everyone
No, I know.
else's, like whatever you guys voted.
But I didn't know
on.
which one he was calling.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I don't know if there isn't a requirement, it just says any matter. It
There you
doesn't.
go.
Yeah, sign this one. It's for Bradley. Not Renee Ramirez.
Oh, he wasn't here at that meeting.
Oh, we're still.
Oh, and you just have to click in.
Were we talking about you, Lou?
Wasn't it hot, Mike?
Was it not Mike?
Well, they could hear if we were talking, but I'll